All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Athlete and Artist Show. I am the artist, Kyle Fortch. Today we are without the athlete, unfortunately, at least to start off with. But today we have a very special guest. He is a director, producer. You may know him from You Never Know, You Know podcast, the Ballina Cup, and he is one of the co-founders of Chug Bud. Mr. John Kilmer, how are you?
I'm good, dude. How's it going?
Not too bad, man. You were just showing me that new view you guys have out there, and it's definitely a lot nicer than the one we have right now.
Where are you guys located over there? Where are you
I'm
at?
I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So when you guys were in Montana, you were just a couple hours away from us, actually. But it's
Awesome, man. Fucking dirty fucking Dangles boys.
awesome. All right, John.
I speak a little Canadian, just a little bit.
a little a little hockey, hey?
Yeah, a little hockey. Couple snipes for the boys, you know?
I love it. I love it. Jonna, let's just start by giving a brief rundown of kind of what you had going on before you and Mike and your whole crew kind of got together. You guys have built up, an entire brand and organization now, but kind of what were you doing before that and what led into that?
Well, to give a little context, I mean, we've been at it for like about a decade now, 10 years.
Yeah.
We're all 30 now, so like we've been doing this for a while, and I mean, we kind of started at, kind of interesting time because we were all just kind of out of college. We're all in different positions. Like I didn't know Mike or any of the guys before we started working together. So some of them had been like friends from back home.
Okay.
Uh, Kind of randomly, we lived like an hour away from each other growing up, and we didn't know each other, which is kind of weird. But
Oh, really?
I was just I was like a year out of college. I went to school to study film. I was always working on music on the side, so music and film kind of always my passions growing up since I was young. Got out of school with a film degree, and as most people with film degrees know, when you get out of school, you're pretty much jobless.
Yeah.
It's the job market's not great. So I made the decision to work for myself, and I got like a tiny little apartment with one of my best friends growing up. And I was in like this little 10 by 10 room, just kind of sleeping on one side and working on the other every day, and kind of grinding, trying to make rent every month. And
I feel
probably about
that.
a year in, when I was working for myself, to explain that a little, I was pretty much doing anything on the creative side to make money.
Okay.
Outside of male stripping, I was like, I was making beats. I was recording people for like 20 bucks an hour. I was shooting photographs. I mean, pretty much whatever I could do.
You were just grinding,
And
hey?
just grinding, working with like hundreds and hundreds of up and coming artists, like just so many, which was great. I had a lot of fun doing it. But
That's
then when I
awesome.
started reaching out, really started reaching out to people I wanted to work with, Mike happened to be one of them. And I think that's pretty much how we got linked. He was just starting out as well. If you don't know his background, he was an ex-athlete and ended up turning to music. And
Yep.
he was just starting out, as was I. So we kind of just started together, really.
I'm a Steve. I know the background.
Right on.
Yeah, man. And speaking of that, like you guys have built up kind of a cult fan base, if you will. You guys have
Hmm.
really, really dedicated fans, and you and Mike and the rest of your crew have all kind of been really, really good at interacting with the fans and getting to know them. And for one, I want to know, how do you have time to do all that with everything else you guys have going on? And two, how important do you think it is for up and coming people that are building a brand or a platform to really bring their fans in as part of the process?
I think it's more important than ever now. I think especially now in the streaming era of music, you can really get into artists but not really know who they are. You can get into their music but not really know
Yeah.
who they are. And we were lucky. I guess the way we came up in music, YouTube was like a big factor, where a lot of musicians were putting stuff out on YouTube, whether it be like music vlogs, like we did Touring's Boring, music vlogs, or just like remix videos or whatever. Like that was like a huge vehicle coming up. YouTube was such like a big thing, whereas now like a lot of artists are kind of making shit happen without YouTube, and then you don't really get to like get to know them. I think like it's kind of like not a catch 22, but it's kind of the other way. It's not really like getting to know the fans. It's giving the fans an opportunity to know you, which a lot of people aren't doing, I think.
For
And
sure.
we've just been doing a lot of that over the years. And it started as like doing music vlogs when we were on tour, doing like these little remix videos. We eventually went on to have a TV show for a season,
Yeah,
and now we do our podcast. So like we've just for an entire like almost 10 years, we've always given the fans an opportunity to know who we are on top of the music, which I think is super important.
definitely. And even like you guys have the Stephen Mingle, and you
Yeah,
guys are
yeah.
always checking, yeah, and always checking the Instagram and stuff like that. I just
Hmm.
think that that's super cool because a lot of artists or celebrities or whatever aren't really putting in the effort to let the fans get to know them, like you said, or just bring them along as part of the process. So I think that's super cool that you guys have been really really good at doing that, and I think
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest reasons that you guys have this huge supportive fan base that you do.
Yeah, man. I mean, we owe everything to fans, dude. And like, I don't even see it as fans because I mean, I'm not like the artist, obviously. I just see
Sure.
it as like a whole fucking group of friends that I make on a daily basis, and it's fucking so dope, man. It's really dope. I miss touring, honestly. I mean, it's been about two years since we toured, and it's probably going to be a little more time till we get to go back on the road. But I mean, that's just the best opportunity to meet everyone, you know.
For sure. Do you guys, when you're on the tours, do you have like set aside meet and greets and stuff like that, or do you guys just kind of go out with the fans after, or how do you guys run that?
All the above. I mean, it started with meet and greet. It started with meet and greets, and then we obviously started really taking up beer pong professionally,
Yeah, we're
and
gonna
then
get
we
into
were
that
like,
too.
let's just make our meet and greets a fucking big beer pong hangout with our fans before the shows. So
That's unreal.
the last tour, we just had like 3 or 4 beer pong tables and had like 50 fans just come up and just play beer pong and hang out and drink beer with us before the show, which that's been a lot of fun.
Is that kind of how you guys came up with the idea for the Ballina Cup? Because I know, almost exactly a year ago now, you guys
Hmm.
did a celebrity version of the Ballina Cup for charity. So kind of what led into that, and how long did it take to plan to get some of these big names that you guys had?
Yeah, so that's crazy. That was a year ago, but yeah, that was the Ballina Cup Celebrity Virtual Beer Pong Tournament.
Yeah.
Um, the Ballina Cup started actually with Mike and Post like a year ago. Mike and Post were like, amazing beer pong team, and they played probably upwards of 300 or 400 games together. And then after one bender, at like 7 in the morning, they decided to go to a trophy store and make a 5 foot trophy called the Ballina Cup, which was set aside for the champions of the fucking world of beer pong. And it's the trophy that we still have today. We actually have it in our garage. And
Amazing.
since then, we went with the Ballina Cup, and we made that celebrity tournament for charity right around when COVID started happening. Raised a ton of money for charity, which was great. Had a lot of great names to come and play beer pong with us,
Yeah.
and now we're actually running with it as like a high stakes beer pong tournament we do every like 6 to 8 weeks with whoever wants to enter. We do huge cash prizes and stuff. So that's a fun little side of the business that we got going on now.
Yeah, that's actually that's how I kind of discovered you guys and your whole crew, and your vibe and the wave that you guys are on was the Ballina Cup, because I followed Morgan Wallen and Seguin and all those guys and on Instagram, and they
Yeah.
shared these, and I was like, what is this? And then I started doing like pre and post parties on TikTok live for the Ballina Cup. So I ended up starting to grow it from there, and it was basically me just playing beer pong with myself and on a TikTok live, and I ended up having like hundreds of people coming in like, what is this loser doing playing beer pong by himself? Like,
That's
but
amazing, man. And yes, Sagan's a fucking beauty, but real horse shit beer pong player.
I had him picked to win. I had him picked to win my bracket, and then
That's
he
I could have told you not to do that.
yeah, I didn't realize how good your guys' crew was, or else I probably would have picked you guys. But I think I
Yeah,
had Seguin and Nelk boys going to the final, and Segi beating them, and I was really just disappointed at him.
yeah, yeah. Nelk boys is no brainer. Those boys obviously play some beer pong.
Yeah, yeah, those guys play a lot of beer pong for sure.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the podcast. So
Okay.
you guys have, well, one, you've got the YNK, podcast, and you've also got um, the Ball Don't Lie, it's called, right, with Jonny Manziel
Ball
coming out
don't
as
lie.
well.
Yeah. Hmm.
So do you want to talk a little bit about how the YNK podcast started, and then kind of the direction you guys are going with Ball Don't Lie?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like our podcast probably started about around 2 years ago, maybe less. And that was right around the time when podcasting started to become pretty popular. I mean, Joe Rogan's podcast was like, it was already big, but it was like really starting to blow up. And
Yeah.
we're all fans of Rogan over here. We used to just watch it all the time. And I think we came to the conclusion, going back to connecting with the fans and stuff like that. Like we were no longer doing music vlogs, really. We're no longer we no longer had a TV show. So I think like the podcast was a great way to kind of let the fans take like a closer look at who we are as people, and like, really just get to know us a little better. So, and it was just a great way to really open up our network, and an excuse to just sit down and talk to people for like an hour at a time, So, all
Fair.
in all, I think it was just good for so many reasons. And uh, I can't say we were like complete trailblazers by starting a podcast, because a lot of people were starting one. But in the music industry, anyways, I mean, we were, I know Joe Budden had a big one, but there weren't a ton of musicians making them yet. So I think we
Yeah.
were, kind of excited to be one of like the early musicians to start doing podcasting seriously.
And do you think with podcasts, like, you guys have had some pretty big guests on yours, Jonny Manziel, like we just talked about, Marcus Stroman, Modson, Mike Posner, and the list kind of goes on. Do you guys
Hmm.
think that, or do you think that athletes and celebrities are starting to prefer going on podcasts, like as an interview, just because, one,
Yeah.
they kind of feel more comfortable that this person's not trying to screw them over and sell a story to TMZ or some other gossip rag, or even with
Yeah,
athletes,
dude.
all these dumb questions they get asked at press conferences and stuff like that, where it's just basically a waste of time. Like, you
Yeah,
don't.
man. I mean, you're never going to get a genuine response from an athlete at on like a ESPN or like any type of mainstream sports media. You're never ever going to get just a genuine down to earth response,
For sure.
because they all have ulterior motives at those big media companies. And like, they'll spin a story at a drop of a dime, and make the athlete look bad if it means they get more views or more hits. You know what I mean?
For
And
sure.
that's just not how I can't speak for all podcasts, but that's not how we operate. I mean, we just want to get to know these people like on a very down to earth level. And I mean, Mike already said he's probably going to be one of the biggest, sports journalists in the next 5 years. And I believe him, because I mean, if you look at any of our interviews in the YNK podcast, I mean, these athletes really open up, and like,
Definitely.
they're just really giving genuine responses. And you really don't see that on the bigger media platforms.
Especially with guys like Jonny Manziel, who, anytime media tries to interview him, they just try to kind of sewer him, and, like you said, make guys look bad. And so I thought
Yeah.
that was really special that when you guys had him on the show, you kind of gave him that platform to speak his side of things.
Yeah, we're not trying to make people look bad. We're trying to
Exactly.
inspire people. Like, we're trying to show. I mean, every great person has a story and an obstacle they had to overcome, and we're just trying to let everyone know what that story is, so it can inspire other people. I mean, that's the only thing we're trying to do.
For sure.
Hmm.
It's crazy. Just how things have changed in terms of media and social media or digital media in general. Um, it's really I feel like people are gonna be a lot more open and comfortable talking to the people that they know, like, that are in the same industry, or whether you're an artist or film producer and you're
Hmm.
interviewing guys that are athletes like Mike was and stuff like that. So it's such a game changer. I think it's going to eventually push traditional media right out of sight almost.
It already is. I mean, dude, I want to see Joe Rogan interview anyone over anyone else. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he's
for
to me,
sure.
he's the biggest journalist he could be the biggest journalist in the world because he's just a fucking cool dude and like he has no ulterior motives and he just wants to. He's very neutral as well. You know, he doesn't
Yeah.
really take one side or the other. You know, more or less, and he just gives fucking outstanding interviews.
And you can talk to anybody for hours.
Anyone,
It's
anyone. Like
crazy.
he'll talk to Bernie Sanders, and then the other day he'll like trip shrooms and talk to Post Malone for 4 hours. Like there's no one that can really do that, and that's why he's the fucking goat right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy how long he's been doing it, how often he does it too. You know, he started out in Fear Factor and went to the UFC, and now he's got the biggest podcast in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
10 years
just
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane, man. It's
Yeah.
insane. Um, let's kind of go back to the Ballina Cup a little bit here.
Hmm.
Or sorry, let's not. Let's talk about the Ball Don't Lie podcast.
Okay.
How did you guys get that started?
Um.
And when does it come out? Can you give us a little insider of?
Yeah. Very soon. I mean, we're trying to as early as like a week or two from now. We're trying to push it out.
Okay.
Um. We already have a handful of episodes produced already, and I mean we've been friends with Johnny for a long time, and we've just kind of, I mean, especially like him as a non-athlete, after football, we've been very close with him. And I mean, we looked at podcasts like Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson, and like, it's just such a fucking like fun, wacky podcast, and like Mike Tyson's great, and it's Mike Tyson after boxing, and like you get to see kind of like what he's up to and like his mindset, and he can kind of like give the perspective of looking back at his career as a boxer and like looking back at all those years when he was an athlete where we thought Johnny could do the same thing and he'd be fantastic at it. And so I mean we talked to him about it. Mike talked to him about it, and we were in Arizona for a few months and we got a couple episodes under our belt, and it's really great, man. It's just a tell all, and like you get to hear his side and it's not twisted by the media, and you get to really see who Jonny Manziel is. And I think once people see that, they're going to realize he's just a fucking amazing dude.
That's awesome. Is Ball Don't Lie going to be more under your premium content, or is it going to be more
No,
under? It's going to be open to the public.
yeah, it's going to be open to the public. Maybe eventually he'll do his own premium content, but for
Okay.
now he's just doing a public podcast for anyone, and it'll be probably every other week.
Cool. And speaking of that, you guys have kind of been going more towards that premium content or direct to consumer route. Do you think this is going to be the future of, growing a business as an artist or just as a business owner in general?
Yeah, no, I mean direct to consumer. It's like that's exactly the ticket. I mean, you think of like how censored creativity gets when you're under like a major network, or anything really. There's just so much censorship, and then when you're talking about what the artist and the creator deserves, you look at people like companies and big machines like YouTube and Spotify and Apple. They take such a large chunk, like there's really no lion's share for the creators. And when you do direct to consumer and you do something like a subscription model, yes, you're probably reaching less people, but you're reaching the people who actually care about you,
Sure.
and the people who want to support you as a creator. And the amount of money you make as the creator is just astronomically higher. So I think it's a win-win. You're giving content to people who actually want it, and you're getting the money you deserve. So I think you're going to see a lot more of it as creators and as musicians, and really anyone, I think.
Definitely. And you mentioned YouTube, and YouTube, you don't make any money off YouTube anymore. Or like you look at guys like the Nelk Boys who are getting millions and millions of views per video, and they recently, I think a month or so ago or a few weeks ago, they showed their ad revenue, and it was like zero. It was less than $1 for a 5 million view video.
Yeah, I
So
mean it completely depends, and I mean they're putting out some racy stuff, so like
sure,
YouTube
definitely,
can decide like what they want to run ads on, and if it's
sure,
like if it's stuff like they're putting out, like I totally understand, but even if it's something that ads can run on, I mean you're talking about like a couple $1,000 per million streams on YouTube. I mean that's horseshit, you know, like a million people and you're getting a couple grand, like that's just not
yeah,
how it should be. And it's the same way with Spotify too. Like you're talking about
yeah,
$3,000 maybe, $3,500 per million streams. And it's
it's
really hard.
crazy.
It's really hard to get, a million people to listen to one of your songs. I mean,
Yeah,
that's like a huge accolade to get a million people to listen to your songs. And you're
yeah.
talking about having to do that every month to make minimum wage. I mean, that's
Yeah.
insane.
It's hard to get 100,000 people to listen to your music if
Yeah.
you're an up and coming artist.
So you're
And
talking about like now it's like if you have 10,000 people that really support you and they're willing to pay you $5 a month. I mean, you're fucking rich now.
yeah,
So think about that. Like
yeah,
just really really deal to the people. Don't deal to the masses. Deal to the people that really fucking care about you. And if it's 5,000 people or 10,000 people, they're going to pay $5 a month for your content, and then you as a creator go out of your way and give them more. Don't just give them a song here and there. Like give them real content, give them as much as possible, and they will support you. So I'm a huge advocate of it. I mean, it's been really successful for us since we've been doing it the last 4 to 5 months.
definitely. And as someone that's worked in music and entertainment for a long time, kind of branching off that a little bit, this whole record label versus independent route for artists. Um, are you split in any direction, or do you think it kind of depends on the situation or the deal or the artist?
It depends. It really depends. I'm not like obviously like I'm a very pro independent guy. Like I think if you can do it independently and you have the patience to do it independently,
Yeah,
then go for it. But I mean, I can't just go out and say like, oh, record label deals are horseshit, because
sure.
that's just simply not true. I mean, you see a lot of music. It's just very rare. It's very rare for a musician to get signed to a label and find real success, real financial success. It's not impossible, but I mean, if you're a musician, you better be really sure that you can go in that machine and come out a winner.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, if it's not working out and like you're not as successful as they thought you'd be, you're going to get shelved, you're going to get pushed aside. Because ultimately, it's like, I mean, I watched a video with T-Pain, and he was talking about from the side of the record label. He's like, the record label's taking a chance on you. I mean, they're giving you a large amount of money because they're taking a huge chance on you. And if you don't make
yep,
that money back, I mean, you're going to owe them money. It's as simple as that.
yep,
You're not going to be making money. You're going to owe them money. So like, if you can bet on yourself that, the amount of money they're putting into you is going to work out, then
yeah.
I say go for it.
Yeah, you're definitely taking a chance, and you have to be sure,
Hmm.
especially as the artist, because as the labels, I've heard you guys talk about it before. They're signing a bunch of people a year, so
Yeah.
if you're not making it, they have another person, another artist that they can bet into, or that could be more successful. But you as an artist, even if you're getting $250,000 advance, oh, are you still there? Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sorry. Someone's calling. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Even if you get like a $250,000 advance, well, one half of it's going to be taxed at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then
Hmm.
if you have a manager, you got to pay your manager, and then that that is all going into your pocket or not, you're gonna have to pay that back, like you said. Plus all the money that the label is gonna be dumping into promotion or a tour if you get that far with them. So you
Hmm.
really do have to be sure, and I agree with you. It really depends on the artist and the situation.
Yeah. Russ was just talking about that. He was saying like, if you get $1 million deal, I mean, like you just said, like half's going to taxes, 10%'s going to a manager, like another percentage is going to like,
The lawyer.
something else. It's like, yeah, lawyer. So you're coming out with like 350K off a million.
Yeah.
So like, it's really not as much as you think it is, at the end of the
No,
day for
I
you as
mean,
an artist.
I definitely wouldn't complain about an extra 350K, but I still got to pay that other 700 grand back.
Oh, I know, dude. It's no, trust me, it's a big risk, but if you're the type of artist that can succeed in that model, then I mean, you look at people like Post Malone or Taylor Swift or like Justin Bieber. It's like, you know, if you're an artist like that, like you're gonna find success, and like that money that's going into you is gonna make a lot more money. It's like any startup business, so
Sure.
you just have to really weigh your options.
Now, in terms of those artists, what do you think it is about them that about an artist to make it in in one of these big machines? Because you mentioned Taylor and Justin and Post, and they really had a lot behind them. Like Justin had Scooter, Taylor had a big machine. Post, I forget who Post signed with at the start, but
I believe Republic record. He signed.
okay.
I think he signed a Republic. Yeah.
But what is it about an artist that will make them succeed in this machine?
Dude, if I fucking knew, I'd be a billionaire. If I
Fair
knew,
enough.
I'd be. So like I'm producing for an artist now who's a 19-year-old kid, and he just signed to Sony Music,
Nice.
and
Congrats to him.
you know we were weighing the options of like whether he should sign or not, and he's so young, and he signed a four album deal. And like
Okay.
the way we saw it is like, he's 19, he signed a four-album deal. By the time he's out of this deal, he'll be like, 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah.
So like, it's not the biggest risk for him. And like, I look at the type of music he makes, and it's, he just has a mainstream sound, and I can't really like explain it, but he has like his tone is like very Justin Bieber-ish, and like the
Okay.
type of music he's making is very like pop music for the masses. And if that's what you're going for, and you really fucking go for it, and you hit some catchy songs, and they take off, and they're
Yeah.
marketed well, then like yeah, you can really succeed in that model.
What's the
Um,
artist's name?
44 Phantom.
How'd you get hooked up with him?
A buddy of mine found a link of him on YouTube on like some promotion page. Didn't have very many views, but he sent it to me, and he was like, "What do you think of this artist?" And I heard like, 15 or 20 seconds of the song, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like I can hear it. Like this kid's really good. This kid's great." So, my friend went on to manage him, and then I went on to kind of produce the majority of his music, kind of like an executive producer, if you will. And we worked with him for about a year, developed him for like a little over a year, and then sure enough, the label started knocking, and then we waited till we got a real offer, and then we took the real offer. So
Wow. That's crazy that it only took a year.
I know, and again, like that's why we thought a label deal would be good if it was the right label, because if every A&R from every record label is knocking on your door saying we want this kid,
Yeah.
there's probably a good chance he's going to succeed under the label model.
That's insane. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to you guys on that. That's huge.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm super proud of him. I mean, it's like you said, 19 years old to have that type of deal already.
Yeah.
It's a huge accolade.
That's awesome. Are you guys going to be planning like a tour for him on like after COVID, obviously? Are you going to bring him on the road with you guys, or kind of do you have an idea of what direction you're going to go with that?
We signed with a booking agent, and like we're kind of kicking around how we want to roll that out. It might be as soon as like late summer, fall to start
Okay.
doing like little venues, just to kind of like get our foot in the door and see what touring is like. Because I mean, when you're a new artist, you never toured before, you have no idea how many fucking people are going to come to your shows.
No.
So the only way to do it is just to kind of get out there and do some little like 200 person crappy venues, and just
Yeah.
see who shows up.
Even
And
if
we
you're
did
the
this.
opening artist, it's like you don't know how many people are going to show up at 7 o'clock to to watch the opener.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we did the same thing with Mike. I mean, I was with him since we started doing shows with him, and he was lucky enough to find success in touring very early. I
Yep.
mean, he maybe opened to like, I don't know. He never opened a full tour, but he's opened to maybe like 10 shows in his life, maybe, and
And you guys have done
uh,
what, over 700 shows?
yeah, 700, 800 shows we've done. So like,
Crazy.
he's headlined just about everything, and even in the early days when we were doing little 300 person rooms, like he was selling it out from the very beginning. So, yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say as an artist who's going to come up to see you perform.
Yeah, for sure. You guys have been moving around a lot the last few months. You left LA,
Mm-hmm.
you were in Arizona, you were just in Montana, and now you're on the beach again. What's next for you guys? How long are you staying out there, and are you guys gonna keep traveling around, or are you gonna find a home? I know you guys were talking about Nashville in the past.
Yeah, we left LA. It just wasn't really for us anymore. I mean, once COVID hit and you take away all the things that are nice about LA,
Yeah,
you just realize you're living in a trash can.
it seems like
Um,
everyone's leaving LA.
it's an overpriced trash can, man. I'll go on record and say it. You can fucking put it on a billboard. John Kilmer said LA is a big overpriced trash can.
That's
It
gonna be the
really is, dude.
headline.
And it really is. And like now that we've actually had perspective of living in all these places, I can honestly say like LA is not the spot, man. It's just not the spot.
Fair.
So we left like 6 months ago, probably sometime around November we left. And yeah, our ultimate goal is to end up in Nashville. And Mike's looking for land. He's looking for houses. And we're just kind of waiting for the right spot. But in the meantime, like you said, we're bouncing around city to city, living in beautiful homes and just kind of full immersion in our work,
Yeah.
going on this beautiful pilgrimage. And we're having a fucking blast, man. Like partying aside, I mean, we're not really partying a ton, to be honest with you. Montana, we were in the middle of nowhere on 100-acre ranch, so we were just kind of
That
hyper
place was
focused. And
crazy.
now we're in Tampa, out in the water. We're having a really relaxing time out here. We just got here a few days ago, so I'm enjoying it a lot, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Or do you have a spot picked out after Tampa, or is Nashville going to be kind of the place if you guys can find a house and land and stuff?
We'll probably be in Tampa for a month or two, and then we were
Okay.
kicking around going to some lake house outside of Austin, Texas,
Okay.
on Lake Travis. Think about Lake Travis, yeah. So that's probably the next place after here. But I mean, we're just really fucking winging it,
Yeah,
like super winging it over here.
that's crazy. You guys have had some really nice houses too. Like I've seen on your social medias, like the Montana house was nuts. Like, you had a saloon in it and everything. Like,
Oh yeah, there's like a saloon and like a gym and like there's like stables down the road with a bunch of horses. Like it was fucking beautiful, dude.
how do you guys find these places?
That's all. It's all like rentals. It's like high-end rentals, really. It's not,
Okay,
it's nothing crazy, but we really comb the web to find the right spots for sure.
that's insane.
Hmm.
What's been your favorite place so far? Or has kind of each place been, a different vibe or a different wave that you've been on?
Definitely. I mean, when we were in Arizona, I mean, that's a dangerous place. I mean, that's fucking. It's like LA, but it's the people are a little nicer and there's a little less traffic and everything's a little less expensive. But Scottsdale's pretty dangerous. So I like it, but and like there's a lot of great stuff there. We have a lot of good friends there, but I mean, we were just there for 5 days, and like we did like three all-nighters where like we just went on like endless benders there. And like that's a dangerous spot, and it's hard to find a balance there for sure. And then Montana is like the other end of the spectrum where like there's nothing around us and
Yeah,
there's no one to party with, and like we're just kind of in solitude. So I'm hoping Tampa will be a nice mix of the two.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Why is Nashville the kind of the place that you want to end up in? Because it's definitely known as more of like a country music kind of vibe, obviously down there.
Yeah, I mean, if you hear a lot of Mike's new music, it's very country inspired.
Sure, definitely.
It's kind of its own genre, really, and it has a lot of hip hop elements, but it's very country at the core. And I think that's the direction he's going with his music. And I think Nashville, it's a beautiful, growing city. It's starting to develop there a lot. And I mean, dude, everyone's leaving LA. I mean, like Rogan left LA, like all these companies are leaving LA.
Yeah,
So you look at where they're going. They're going to places like Texas and Nashville, where you're not getting fucked in the ass with taxes, and
yeah,
it's just better living. So I think Nashville, if you're talking about the music industry, is the next best place in my opinion.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, everyone's leaving LA. Like Logan Paul's moving to Puerto Rico or some shit like that.
No,
Super
no taxes,
random.
no taxes in Puerto Rico, baby. Fucking zero taxes, dude. If you're making millions a year and you're living in LA, you're a dumbo.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just
fair.
you're just getting rid of half your money to live in a hot trash can.
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way. I've always kind of looked at LA as like the end all be all for me, just because growing up in Canada, I'm like, I need to be in a giant city like
It's
that is
hey
warm.
man, like if you want to go there
But
and network and make moves, like it's great. If
for
that's
sure,
your goal, we had a lot of success doing that. And,
yeah,
like we had a lot of success doing that. But when you get to a level where like you don't have to really rely on knocking on doors and shaking hands.
sure,
I mean, there's no point to living there. Live in the most comfortable place you can think of.
yeah. And I'm sure Nashville's a little bit easier with in terms of like the media and the paparazzi and stuff too.
Oh yeah, there's none of that there, and you know, I'm,
Unless your neighbors are secretly recording you on your way home from the bar.
Gee, Jeez Louise, yeah, no comment. Jeez Louise, yeah. That's why we're not gonna have neighbors. I think we're gonna make
Yeah.
sure we have enough land.
What do you think about that kind of situation? Like, do you when it comes to the cancel culture and stuff like that? Obviously, that situation is a little bit more on the bad side of things. Obviously,
Yeah.
do you think there's a comeback for Morgan? Or because I've talked to some people out in Nashville, and they're
Mhm.
like he's been completely written off out here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse for what he did. He
Definitely
should be
not.
held accountable. But at the same
Definitely,
time, I mean, we're also in a very short-term memory culture as well.
sure.
And I'm not. I'm going to go out on a limb and say like, I can't tell you exactly how much time, but of course he'll have. Of course he'll come back. Of course. You know.
It's crazy how that whole roller coaster went because he was getting in trouble for like the partying and stuff like that, which was kind of his image, and then he was the face of Billboard, and then just that situation happened, and that just kind of almost ended everything for him.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
yeah. I mean, you should be held accountable for your
definitely,
actions. I mean, it's
absolutely,
the person you are behind closed doors is the person you are in real life. And unfortunately, we're in a world where you can't hide behind closed doors.
for
Especially if you're
sure,
a famous person, you can't hide behind closed doors. So whatever type of person you are, it's going to come out. People are going to find out. So I don't know if that's unfortunate or fortunate, but it's you just have to be a good person, behind closed doors
for
because
sure,
it's going to come out.
for sure. And what do you think about like the cancel culture in general? Obviously, the racist stuff and
Mhm.
a bunch of other stuff is obviously completely a different story.
Yeah.
But when it comes to comedy or saying certain things that just the younger generation kind of gets offended of, what do you think that's like just the younger generation or how the new generation is going to be going? Or I don't even know how to explain that comment. We kind of talked about it last week, but like it
Yeah.
just
No.
blows my mind.
Yeah. I have a comment on it for sure. I mean, there's two sides to it. One side is what I just said. People should be held accountable,
Sure.
for
Yep.
who they are.
Definitely.
And if you're a shitty person, then you're going to be exposed. There's no
For
way
sure.
around it. Um, but then there's another side to things where it's the whole like being judgmental as a human being, judging others,
Yeah.
which
That's
I'm
more
not
so what
on.
I was getting at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not on board with it all. I don't care how bad of a person is or like what they've done. I don't think anyone has, especially if you don't know who that person is personally.
Sure.
If you don't know who that person is, you never met them in your life, it's just some like public figure or famous person, you have absolutely no right to judge them in any way whatsoever because you don't know who they are as a person and you don't really know the full story. So you have no place to judge them on Twitter or social media or anything like that. So um, there's definitely two sides to it. But at the end of the day, I mean, cancel culture is literally about just obsessively judging people on social media, which I'm not on board with. I think it's horseshit.
Yeah, I kind of said this last time, but like people on the internet have these. It seems like have these like giant balls where they'll just go and attack people for no reason they don't know,
Yeah.
and whether that person did something wrong or not, it's like they don't like them and they're just gonna try to toss them under the bus. It's almost like a heightened version of these like gossip gossip media. Like they'll present the stories, but they're not just gonna make up stories and just try to get you canceled or whatever. Like the whole thing with the Eminem that just happened. Like the lyrics that they were trying to cancel him over, like that's not the worst thing that he's ever said. But I think, like,
Yeah, he said some fucking terrible things.
definitely. But like
Yeah.
I feel like he's one of the guys that's like uncancelable almost. Him and like Dave Portnoy are like the two guys that you can't really cancel because they're just so good at dealing with different situations, like all the shit that Portnoy's been through and how Woody's come back from. And same with M. It's like, how do you, as someone who's being attacked, if you haven't exactly done anything wrong, or something super malicious, how do you think people should deal with that? As an artist or an entertainer or someone that's being canceled.
I mean, again, like the reason I think Dave is uncancelable, quote unquote, is because he has put himself out there on the internet for so long that people know exactly who he is.
Yeah.
They know he's authentic as fuck, and they know he's not a bad person. Whether he has like racy comments, whether he speaks his mind in a way that might rub people the wrong way, he's not a bad person. Yeah. And if you have any fucking insight at all into Barstool and to who he is as a person, you know that whatever he says, you can't write him off because he's not a bad guy. He has the best of intentions. He's smart, and he's built a fucking tremendous business, and he demands and deserves all the respect in the world. So with someone like him, I mean, he's an open book, and there's so much out there of him where that's not really where a lot of celebrities are at. They don't have, they're the opposite. I mean, they're trying to stay away from all that. Yeah. They're trying to not be an open book. They're trying to, be on the sidelines. And the issue is when you're not an open book like that, and, people catch wind of something and they don't really have any context of who you are, they can make assumptions about you. And with someone like Dave Portnoy, you can't make assumptions because you already know everything there is to know about him. So,
and you can't really blackmail him either. Someone just tried to like extort him for another sex tape. He's like, put it out. There's already 2 of them out there. I was like, fair enough.
Yeah.
He's like, I should just take it and put it on OnlyFans and start making some money off of it.
Yeah, I mean, people should take a page out of his book, honestly. I mean, that's why podcasting is great. That's why like just putting yourself out there is great. Letting your audience know who you are, because I mean, we've been podcasting for 2 years. I mean, people know exactly who we are, and we're not the same people we were 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah. But if you look at all the stuff we put out the last 2 years, people know who we are, and they know. I mean, they can use that as context.
Sure. Sorry, just a couple more questions here, then I'll let you get back to everything you guys are doing all over, which is just insane. I still can't wrap my mind about how much you guys are doing, and with the traveling and stuff, it's absolutely crazy to me. In terms of back to social media and stuff, what do you think about the influencers and like these TikTok stars? Do you think how many of them do you think are gonna actually have a career once TikTok kind of dies down, once everything opens back up, or do you think it will die down?
I can't really give any insight on whether or not TikTok's going to die down as an app. But to give my opinions on like the actual stars of TikTok, I mean, a lot of them have already made their money on the actual TikTok platform. They've done very well. But say you take that platform away, there's very few that I think are going to be able to succeed outside of that application.
Sure.
Because I mean, I have this metric on like, how successful you can be as a public figure. And I think it's whether or not you can sell someone a t-shirt.
Yeah.
That's my metric. Sure. Like if you can sell a whole shitload of t-shirts, as a public figure, then people really fuck with you. And like
Yeah.
so like, you think of these TikTok kids, like, if TikTok were to go away and some kid with like 5 million followers in TikTok went on, some other platform and said, "Hey, I'm selling these t-shirts. This is like my new brand." I don't think a whole lot of them are going to sell very well, you know?
For
And
sure.
I think, and again, it just comes down to revealing who you are as a person and like, growing an authentic audience that really knows who you are. Uh, and, like you see a lot of TikTok kids that like are, trying to be musicians, and like some of them are doing well and some of them aren't. And it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter how many followers they have,
Yeah.
because music kind of demands authenticity, and like people can smell the bullshit from a mile away. So it's kind of hit or miss.
I think you definitely have to have some side hustles to prepare yourself for, when that opportunity kind of, runs its course. Like you look at guys
Mm-hmm.
like Josh Richards, he's got a billion different companies now. Like I think he just signed a deal with Mark Wahlberg to open up a production company. He's 19 years old.
Yeah, it's incredible. So yeah, not everyone's business savvy. I mean, you can have a following
Definitely,
of 10 million people, but if you have no business savvy and you don't know how to make the right moves, like you're not going to fucking go anywhere.
for sure. Um, Favorite tour story from your guys' years, if you have one, if you can pick just one. I'm sure there's a bunch over there.
God, now I feel like I got to put a filter on because you told me about your last episode.
You don't have to put
Oh
too big of
man.
a filter on it, but I
Um,
mean,
okay.
nothing too bad.
Here's a good one. Here's a good one.
Okay,
I'll keep it as PG as possible. I'll keep it as PG as
we
possible.
can go
It's
PG
not
13.
it's not that bad. It's really not
Okay,
that bad. So you're from Canada. We always have so much trouble getting into Canada. It's
okay,
like it's so hard.
really?
My Mike had like an old record from years and years ago that's like was on his record for a while. So that was part of it. And then like whenever a tour bus goes through the border, like they rip that thing apart and they check for anything they can find because it's a music tour going across the border.
Sure.
That's just a red flag right there, and it's unfortunate. So
Yeah.
over the years, like we've just had, it's taken 5 or 6 hours to get across the border if we get across at all. And they check everything, and sometimes they'll find like the smallest little nugget of weed, and that gives them the reason to search all of our luggage, and it's just the whole thing. So the last time we tried to get across into Toronto, I believe it might have been Vancouver. I actually don't remember which side of the border it was. But again, we got stopped. We had to sit, in the Border Patrol office while they searched the bus. They found like a couple CBD products, which
Okay.
is like so not a big deal, but I guess they weren't legal in Canada yet. So that gave them reason to bring out the canine unit and bring the dog through all of our luggage and then sniff all of us as human beings, as if we're trying to hide something on our bodies. So the dog is like going through all of us. And I guess like when the dog sits down next to someone, it means like he senses they have something on them.
Yeah.
So the dog's going through all my friends, and of all the people, the dog fucking comes up to me, sniffs me, and sits the fuck down. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't fucking have anything, so I don't know what you guys want me to do. So the two border patrol officers, they're like, can you just come to the back with us real quick, please?
Oh no.
So I'm like, okay, like I don't know where this is going. So these two guys in border patrol outfits, they bring me to like this little room, and it's like the tiniest little room, no windows, all like tile, just the most uncomfortable little small claustrophobic room in the entire world.
Yeah.
And they're giving me the rundown. They're like, all right, before we proceed, is there a lawyer you'd like to call to have on your behalf? I'm like, a lawyer? Like, what the fuck are we doing over here? I'm like, no, like I don't need a lawyer. Like I didn't do anything. And they're like, okay, well, this is how it's gonna go. Uh, we're gonna ask you to take off one article of clothing at a time, and you're gonna hand it to the other officer here, and you're just gonna pretty much do what we say. I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. So one by one, they're like, take off your shoes, take off your socks, take off your pants, take off your shirt, and then I'm down to just underwear at this point. Sure enough, they say, take off your underwear.
Oh no.
So I get completely ass naked in front of these two gentlemen. I hand them my underwear, which they're lost. I hadn't changed my underwear in like 4 days at that point because I was on tour. Probably haven't showered in a week. So they're feeling my poopy stained underwear, and then I'm just sitting there cupping my ball, standing in the corner of this cold, dark room with two men I never met before. And then the guy, they had a long silence. They looked at me, and then they uttered the words, "All right, I need you to spin around, bend over, and spread your cheeks."
This is where this was going. Oh no.
So I spin around. I fucking, I just bend over. I spread my ass cheeks, and like they went on to look at my asshole to see if I had any drugs up there.
Oh my gosh.
Guess what? I didn't have any fucking drugs in my asshole. So that was my fun little experience getting into Canada the last time we were on tour.
Jeez, man. That's insane. So
Yeah.
did you guys end up getting across okay?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, that time we got across. But dude, it's always a challenge.
Man, that's tough.
If
Awesome.
only our Canadian fans knew what we went through to go perform for them.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, hopefully they will now. Hopefully this gets to some of the Canadian Steves out there. And
I'm spreading cheeks for you guys. Spreading cheeks.
Awesome, John. I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything that you'd like to promote, say, social medias, stuff coming up, just one last time?
Yeah, just, follow the YNK podcast if you guys want to check out what we're all about. It's a podcast, with Mike and I. We've been doing it for a couple of years now. That's and then, Ball Don't Lie with Jonny Manziel. It's coming soon, coming in a couple of weeks. I'm psyched.
Awesome, man. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on, and best of luck with everything you guys are doing over there. I think it's amazing. And don't party too hard over there in Tampa.
Thanks, man. And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, dude.
Hey, anytime, man. We'll have to do it again sometime.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Have a great day. See you later, man.
Have a good one, bro.
Bye.